Indonesia for the People's Republic of China and Mongolia now begin. Honorable Ambassador, Mr. Jawahari Oratmangun, the Ambassador of the Republic of Indonesia to the People's Republic of China and Mongolia, esteemed speakers, Professor Sharseng, an Associate Professor at Beijing Foreign University, Mr. Yaya Sutarya, the Education, Culture, Research and Technology Attaché, Distinguished Dean, Vice Dean, Head of Departments and Study Programs in the Faculty of Teachers Training, Unpatti, respected lecturers and academic community of Faculty of Teachers Training, Unpatti, as well as the Committee of FKIP Unpatti National Education Day. All audience joining us through Zoom from China, Jakarta, Ambon, and various other places, we welcome you to this event. Before we start with this wonderful event, let us bow our head and take a moment of silence to give thanks and to pray for the process of today. Let us observe a moment of silence. Amen. Singing the Indonesian national anthem, Indonesia Raya. Audience, please stand. Welcoming speech from the Rector of Katimura University. The time is yours, Pak.
Yeah, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. This is a great issue for me and as a rector of Katimura University to be given the opportunity to deliver an opening speech for the virtual visit to the people of Republic China, especially to Beijing foreign to the university. Your Excellency, Mr. Jawahari Oratmangun, the Ambassador of the Republic of Indonesia to the people Republic of China and Republic of Mongolia. The Honorable our resource person, Professor Sharseng, as an Associate Professor of Beijing Foreign Studies University, and Mr. Yaya Sutarya, Associate for Education, Culture, Research and Technology. The Honorable the Dean of Faculty of Teachers Training and Education at Katimura University, along with the deputy deans, heads of department, and head of study programs within the faculty. The Honorable, the lecturer, and the academic community of faculty, the organizing committee, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, let us give thanks for God Almighty for His great mercy that we are able to attend this important forum for the benefit our beloved institution. Virtual visits between countries like this are from and way for us as a world community to make new adaptation to the current world change due to the COVID-19 pandemic. We cannot give up of this condition. For these reasons, I warmly welcome to implementation of the activity, especially of communication of Indonesian national education, celebrate on the 2nd of May 2021. From this activity, it hope to a new vision and disregarding to implementation of education of Patimura University will certainly have to a positive impact on education development effort in the Faculty of Training, Teacher Training, and Education of Patimura University. This impact will be contribute to the improvement of education quality, especially in Maluku province and Indonesia in general. In this virtual visit, we will listen to a presentation from Professor Shai Zheng about the process and existence of teacher education in the People Republic of China, especially Beijing Foreign Study University. We will also have a presentation from Master Yaya Sutaria and attached to the Center for Education, Culture, Research, and Technology about various experience of collaboration in the field of education, culture, and research with the educational institution of People Republic China. We hope that what will be conveyed by Master Yaya Sutaria can open opportunities for collaboration between the Faculty of Teachers Training and Education of Patimura University and educational institution in the People Republic of China. As Director of Patimura University, I would like to thank Master Johari Oratmangun, the Ambassador of the Republic of Indonesia to the People Republic of China and the Republic of Mongolia through the ethics for education, culture, research, and technology, who has facilitated the committee to make this activity successful. I also would like to thank Professor Shai Zheng and Master Yaya Sutaria for their willingness to become resources persons in the virtual visit to the People Republic of China's Beijing Foreign Studies University. I also give my thanks to the Dean of and the entire academic community of the faculty who have made effort to present this important forum. Please enjoy and virtual visit. God bless us of you and thanks very much. Thank you.
We will now follow the opening remarks from the Ambassador of the Republic of Indonesia to the People's Republic of China and Mongolia, Mr. Jauhari Orakmangun. The time is yours, Pak.
Terima kasih banyak, thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Shalom, salam sejahtera, selamat sore dan salam hangat dari Beijing. Greetings from Beijing. Profesor Dr. Sapteno, Rector of the University of Pattimura, Profesor Dr. Weno, Dean of the Faculty of Education, University of Pattimura, our dear friend Professor Zai Zheng, Beijing Foreign Studies University. I have with us as well Anna Lui PhD from the Fujian Normal University, Bapak Bax Patinama from the head of the Kepala Dinas Pariwisata Tourism Office in Maluku, Pak Yaya Atase Pendidikan, Education Atase here at the Embassy, Ibu dan Bapak dosen, faculty members, adik-adik mahasiswa yang saya cintai dan saya hormati. Pertama-tama, perkenankan saya, I will make my speech in bahasa Indonesia and then I will make sort of summary to our dear guest, Professor Zai Zheng, because he speaks very fluent English as well. Pertama-tama, perkenankan saya mengucapkan apresiasi dan terima kasih yang sebesar-besarnya atas undangan yang diberikan kepada saya untuk mengikuti virtual meeting ini, khususnya ke Foreign Studies University di Beijing, kerjasama Unpatti dan PTRI sudah, di mana saya akan bercerita sedikit, hopefully less than 10 minutes about Indonesia and China bilateral relations. Let me start with the first slide. We established our diplomatic relations back on April 30, 1950. So this year we are celebrating 70th anniversary of the bilateral relations, in which back in 2005 we declared that Indonesia and China is the strategic partnerships. And on October 2nd, 2013, we elevate our relationships from strategic partnership to become comprehensive strategic partnerships. Kalau bahasa sehari-harinya buat adik-adik mahasiswa, dulu hubungan kita adalah hubungan persahabatan, sekarang adalah hubungan dulu hubungan pertemanan, sekarang adalah hubungan persahabatan. So, based on the comprehensive strategic partnerships, it has to be reflected as well in the number. So, yang paling bisa merefleksikan kerjasama ini adalah kerjasama di bidang ada 3 pilar: ekonomi, politik, ekonomi dan perdagangan serta investasi, serta sosial budaya. So let me start with the we put on the one basket the political and security relations. Number 2 is bidang perdagangan dan investasi. In 2020, total volume of trade between two countries reached 78.37 billion US dollar. So almost 79 billion US dollar. So China is our biggest trading partner in the world now. It's in our export increased by 10.30%. So pertumbuhan ekspor kita 10,13%, in which we are able to close the gap of trade deficit by almost 69%. And at the same time, the investment realization of the investment, jadi realisasi investasi dari China masuk ke Tiongkok, masuk ke China 4.8 billion, and Hong Kong number 3 is synergy between Global Maritime Culture and Belt and Road Initiative initiated by both President Joko Widodo and President Xi. It's reflected in the 4 economic corridors. Number 1 is North Sumatra. We are going to develop North Sumatra as economic and business hub for ASEAN. Number 2 is North Kalimantan as an energy and mineral hub. Number 3 is Bali as a high-tech and creative economy hub. And number 4 is Sulawesi Utara as a Pacific Rim economic hub. Total investment of this synergy is around 64 billion US dollars. So a lot of projects already done besides those 4 economic corridors. Let me mention some of the projects as well. Jakarta-Bandung Highway High-Speed Railway Project, Center of Technology in Bali, Karawang and Tangerang Industrial Park, Kuala Tanjung Port and surrounding Industrial Park, Morowali Industrial Park, as well as 2 countries twin park. So let me mention now about kerjasama ke depan. Number 1 is in the economic digital. As we are now, sejak 15 Januari 2021, Tiongkok memiliki 162 unicorn. So here in Tiongkok, in China, they have 162 unicorn. And during the year 2020, e-commerce transaction in China reached 2.4 billion US dollars. So increased by 26%. And then the access to internet penetration is already reached 900 million people here in China, and the prediction that by 2025 the digital economy in China will reach 4.2 billion US dollars. So this is one of the cooperation that we would like to pursue in the future. Let me give you the example or the number of Indonesian digital economy. Kita sekarang punya 5 startup unicorn dan 1 dekakorn. Dan transaksi ekonomi digital, so we have 6 unicorn. Transaksi ekonomi digital di Indonesia 2020 itu kurang lebih 44 miliar US dollar. So increase by 44%. Penetrasi internet di Indonesia sudah 73,3%. So almost 75% internet penetration, and Indonesia being predicted that by 2025 the digital economy valuation will be around 130 to 150 billion US dollar, contributed to the almost 10% of our GDP. Even today, before having this seminar meeting, saya bertemu dengan salah satu pelaku digital ekonomi terbesar di Tiongkok. Jadi kita sudah kerjasama dengan ByteDance. ByteDance Indonesia kita tahu sebagai TikTok. Meituan yang invest di Gojek, Alibaba, JD.com di Indonesia, JD ID, Bigbox, Dumas vending machine, CTE, Kuaishou anak-anak muda pasti tahu itu snack video di Indonesia, Tojoy, Tencent dan lain-lain. Jadi kerjasama di bidang infrastruktur kesehatan dan khususnya vaksin, kita ingin menjadikan Indonesia sebagai hub dari infrastruktur kesehatan di kawasan ASEAN. Nah, potensi kerjasama lainnya itu yang ingin saya garis bawahi adalah pengembangan SDM melalui kerjasama pendidikan. Nah, menindaklanjuti pembicaraan antara kedua presiden, baik melalui pembicaraan per telepon 20 April yang lalu. Saya juga baru mendampingi Menteri Luar Negeri, Menteri Perdagangan, dan Menteri BUMN bertemu dengan partnernya di sini tanggal 20 April yang lalu. banyak sekali kerjasama di bidang pendidikan dan pengembangan SDM yang akan dilakukan antara Indonesia dan China, di mana Tiongkok akan memberikan 3.000 beasiswa untuk jenjang S1, S2, dan S3 dari Indonesia. Within that context that I would like to see more and more Malukan students coming and pursue their higher education here in China. Sudah ada beberapa mahasiswa asal Maluku di sini. Kami juga terus berkoordinasi dengan pihak di Tiongkok. Misalnya tadi saya baru bertemu dengan salah satu perusahaan ternama di sini di bidang digital, dan mereka punya universitas yang akan konsentrasi hanya pada digitalisasi dan Master on Business Administration, in which mereka menawarkan juga kerjasama. Jadi nanti silakan ditindaklanjuti sama pendidikan dengan attaché pendidikan yang hadir. Yang menarik di berikutnya adalah kerjasama di bidang pariwisata, karena ini juga kita tahu merupakan salah satu prioritas, dan wisata di Maluku saya kira salah satu yang cukup menarik. Bisa misalnya dilakukan kerjasama di bidang pengembangan pariwisata juga antara dengan Universitas Pariwisata yang berada di, ada salah satu mahasiswa asal Maluku yang bersekolah di sana. Jadi itu catatan singkat dari saya, mudah-mudahan bermanfaat. And once again to our friend from China, welcome to Indonesia. Please establish a cooperation with the university. Pattimura, to include the University of Pattimura, as well as other universities in the province of Maluku. One other thing is cooperation as well in how to develop the tourism sector in Indonesia. Through, of course, dengan semakin mempelajari juga bahasa Tiongkok, karena di sini sudah ada 18 universitas yang mengajarkan bahasa Indonesia, in which one of the participants of this webinar is coming from KUCINTA, a normal university in which she graduated from Indonesia. So, terima kasih banyak. Semoga kita bisa berjumpa juga di kesempatan yang lain. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera, salam hangat dari Tiongkok, dari Beijing, dan buat warga atau sahabat-sahabat yang beragama Islam, selamat merayakan Idul Fitri yang tidak lama lagi akan dirayakan hari kemenangan kita bersama. Sekian dan terima kasih. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you. Thank you very much, the Honorable Ambassador, Mr. Jalhari Oratmangun, for the welcoming speech and the information about opportunities. Now we will move on to the next part of this event, which is the presentation sessions, and I will pass this microphone to the moderator, Mr. Carol Anangpatoti. He is the head of Language and Art Department, Faculty of Teachers Training and Educational Sciences in Pattimura University.
Thank you, Ibu Helena Rijoli. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I am Karolis Anangpatoti. I'll be the moderator for the next session. Today we are going to have two distinguished speakers. The first speaker is Professor Zai Zheng from Beijing Foreign Studies University, and the second speaker is Mr. Yaya Sutaria, the Attaché for Education at the Embassy of Indonesia in China. Well, ladies and gentlemen, before Mr. or Professor Zhang deliver his material, I would like to read his short biodata. So, Dr. Zai Zhang is an associate professor at Beijing Foreign Studies University, where he has been teaching since 2001. His research interests are in the fields of political communication, American studies, as well as translation. He has authored 2 books, compiled or co-compiled over 10 books, 10 textbooks used throughout China, and published over 20 papers. He took part in the Fulbright FLITA program in 2005 and 2006. Between 2018 and 2020, he first served as the Chinese director of the Confucius Institute at the University of Hawaii at Manoa, and then as a visiting associate professor of social sciences at UHM. He is the Secretary General of the China Association for Intercultural Communication and Director of USA BFSU and American Cultural Center, supported by the U.S. Embassy, Beijing. Ladies and gentlemen, Professor Zhang will spend 1 hour to deliver his material entitled Education in China, Tradition and Transformation. Yeah. After the presentation, we'll have 15 minutes for question and answer session. So to all participants who are going to have questions, you may type your questions in the chatting box, or you can, I think, participants who are in this room, you can write down your questions and give it to us, and then we are going to give it to Professor Zhang. So without further ado, I would like to joyfully invite Professor Zhang to present his material for us today. Professor Zhang, time is yours. Your voice.
Yeah, I'm aware that the internet connection is not stable, so I'm going to turn off my video and just I'm going to make my presentation, and I hope we can have a discussion later on. Yeah. I'm going to let me disable the.
Karena internet konektornya kurang bagus, beliau nanti mematikan videonya saja ya. Kita dengar saja.
Yep. Okay. So my presentation, as the moderator has kindly introduced, is entitled Education in China, Traditions and Transformations. I would like to talk about the traditions in Chinese education, and I'm also going to talk about the current developments in China's education. So this is the 3 topics that I'm going to cover in this afternoon's. The point that I was trying to harmony and hierarchy. Maybe the next slide. We'll just focus on its legacies in education. So Confucius actually set the tone for Chinese education in a number of important ways. Firstly, he affirmed that moral training is a key part of education, and that such knowledge cannot remain academic but must be reflected in behavior. According to Confucius, a good teacher must be a good exemplar. So Confucius taught 4 things: culture, conduct, loyalty, and faithfulness. So as you can see, I'm quoting Confucius, and all these sayings are from Analects. Analects is a collection of Confucian sayings, as well as the conversations between Confucius and his disciples. Now, this idea is so important that even today, the Chinese educational system still evaluate the performance of a teacher by examining his or her moral standing. If, the moral standing of a teacher is, you can veto a teacher if this person is morally decadent. So that is still very important. The second legacy left by Confucius was that education should be open to all. Confucius said in teaching there should be no distinction of classes. Confucius taught people from different classes of the society. Some came from noble families, others were just poor peasants. Of the role of study, he says, those who were born with knowledge are the highest type of people. Those who learn through study are next. Those who learn through hard work are next. Those who work hard and still do not learn are really the lowest type. So as you can see, he divided people by how well a person is equipped in learning. And you may wonder, where did he put himself in? Confucius put himself in the second group. That is, he could learn through study. He didn't think he was an ingenious. He wasn't born with knowledge. Next page, please. The third, legacy is that, next page, please. Education is serious business. Confucius said, if the superior man is not grave, his learning will not be on a firm foundation. He does not approve of the mindless rote learning, just memorizing things, something that traditional Chinese education is criticized for. Confucius said, he who learns but does not think is lost. He who thinks but does not learn is in danger. So Confucius, suggested that we should not just learn, study. He said that we should pause, stop. Not only asking you to study, but he was asking you to stop and think. If you read the second quotation, he who learns but does not think is lost. He who thinks but does not learn is in danger. So reflection from time to time is important in China. Now, Confucian societies are characterized by a strong emphasis on education. Now, Confucian is here defined as traditional attitudes and practices existing in East Asian societies, which ultimately are derived from the teachings of Confucius and his later followers. These teachings are characterized by their emphasis on ethics and statecraft, and resulted, in the case of China, in a society dominated by a secular elite recruited through a merit-based examination system. education was the route to social status and material success, and promoted harmony based on morality and hierarchy. So the status of education remains high in Confucian heritage cultures, and this is reflected in the degree of parental interest in education, in pressure on children to succeed at schools, and in the priority it receives in family expenditure. So in South Korea, for instance, more than 1/3 of the total resources devoted to educational institutions came from private households. In Japan, the share is slightly more than 1/4. In China, over 30% of total households' income for urban families are devoted to education of their kids. In comparison, in some EU countries, the share of total resources devoted to educational institutions from households varied from 13% in the UK to 1.6% in Portugal. Next page, please. So the best characteristic of traditional Chinese education are examination, conformity, competition, and diligence. These key words remain to a large extent in education today. Since education was largely conditioned by the civil service examination, in which Confucian classics formed the standard curriculum, men were more inclined to conform to social reality. In other words, in order to achieve high on the examination, they have to be accurate. They're not encouraged to challenge the authority. So this still remain the case to some extent. If you look at the middle of the presentation, I mean this slide, you will see a picture, a hand-drawn picture. This is the earliest writing in Chinese of the word teach. As many of you might know, the Chinese language is pictographic. In other words, many of the words were drawings in the very beginning. And if you look at this picture, and you can see there is a man with a big stick, and then on the left you have a kid who is kneeling down with some books to read. And so this is the earliest form, the writing of the word teach. So as you can see, in the traditional Chinese sense, teaching is more or less the same with punishment. The teacher or the parent is entitled to corporal punishment if the kid does not want to learn. Right? And in the picture in the middle, this is a typical example of ancient Chinese schools where the teacher could from time to time punish the kids if they were not working very hard. Okay. Next page, please. Just now we talked about some Confucian traditions and the legacies. Now let's move on to the second part, modern Chinese education. Next page, please. This gives you some idea of the size of the Chinese educational system. China has the largest education system in the world with 289 million students and almost 18 million teachers in about 537,100 schools. That's the number from last year. Most Chinese schools are public, but the share of private schools is rising with 36% of the schools or